Hello everyone, welcome to the Adoran region. I'm your host Adoran himself, and welcome to the Build and Battle Ultimate Challenge. If you want to see prior videos, you can check out the instructions and prior videos in the card or in the playlist in the description down below. I'm assuming that you know the general gist. We build a build and battle deck and put it on the TCG live gameplay. See how many matches we can win with the time frame involved. So let's see which deck we end up rolling today. 6 decks left on this wheel, and I've only played with 2 of them. And Flygon is not one of them, so I'm intrigued to figure out more about what Flygon is about. Alrighty, so you guys can see Flygon on the screen here. Flygon, we've got 3 of them, 2 Vibrava, 4 Trapinch, 2 Gliscor, 2 Gligar, and then of course the supporter set. 3 Lilies is nice, I like that, 2 Dawns, 2 Hildas, couple Dust Balls. Fighting Gong is going to be probably something important here. This is in the Phantasmal Flames set, which is an important thing to note because we can only add Phantasmal Flames cards. We got Premium Power Pro, Rare Candy Switch, and Basic Fighting Energy. For those of you that are curious, we've got it on the screen right now. This is Flygon, and the big idea behind it is that it is kind of a mill deck in a way. Flygon, once during your turn, when you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, evolving one of your Vibrava, or Rare Candying a Trapinch. I think Rare Candy's in this as well. You can use this ability, and this ability also works if it's in the active spot and knocked out, which is discarding the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck. In a build and battle setting, really nice. You've got a limited card pool, only running a 40-card deck, so mill decks make even more sense. In the 60-card standard format, it's a little bit harder. And I'm curious to see how we can add into this. So we've got Flygon here, of course. Its main attack is a 2 Fighting Energy Cutting Wind. We can probably get that going pretty well. The other Pokemon we've got is Gliscor, which isn't too bad. It's a 1 Fighting Energy 50 attack where your opponent Pokemon is both poisoned and retreat locked. So that's intriguing. It's got a way of being able to lock somebody in, do some damage. You could probably switch it out for Flygon to do some more. But I definitely think in terms of big attackers, we're probably going to need to get a build and battle bulk up. So now it's time for us to go into TCG Live and take a little bit of looking at these, not only the set, but also building this whole thing to begin with. Alrighty everyone, here we are ready to get started with building this deck. As usual, the clock is on the top left, and as usual, I'll start the clock and build the actual build and battle deck itself. You can also see a sneak preview maybe of future videos that'll come on the channel, but for now, let's go over here and let's build this deck. So, clock will start as soon as I get my own timer ready, and here we go. As I mentioned before, don't need to worry about seeing the first few minutes because I'm going to actually go build the build and battle deck itself. Alrighty, so here we are in our situation now. And situation is a thing. So as you can see by the deck, there's not much. And in fact, one thing that I just thought about right now, we can actually just filter it out, right? Just boom. Now we're good. One thing you'll notice as I scroll through all of the quote-unquote fighting type, not fighting type, Phantasmal Flames Pokemon is that there are no fighting types. You'll see here, can I get this sorted by energy type? There we go, that's what I want. As you'll see here, as we scroll down over here, you'll notice, hey look, there's not a lot here. In fact, the only new one we could potentially add is Tauros, which is interesting, but I don't, at least as far as I can see here, I don't have an in-house way of being able to put damage on it easily. So Tauros' big attack that you're looking at is Raging Charge, which does 40 damage for each Pokemon that has Tauros in the name with damage counters in it. That could go up to 160, which is nice. That's a pretty solid attack. The issue with that is that, A, we need 4 Tauros on the bench, which is going to be hard to get, considering the circumstances we're dealing with here. And then also, I can't add damage to it. So we'd have to do the Tauros method of Double Edge, somehow survive, and then Raging Charge, if that even does anything. And if you look through this, there's not a lot that we can really do. Of the build and battle challenges we've done so far, this is easily going to be the toughest because I don't know what to do. And of course, we have to stick with our clock as well. Not our clock, our sheet over there. We got to stick with that as well. I'm wondering There's an option of building a Mega Lopunny thing. The problem is we don't have a way of retreating easily or a way of being able to put energy down quickly. You could build, what I'm thinking is potentially go Linoon. That's an option. So we have Linoon on the bench, Mega Lopunny out. We use the ability to go into Linoon and then retreat back. Again, the issue is we need energies to burn, which we don't necessarily have. This is a mill deck, but Phantasmal Flames does not have a lot of milling in it. So I need to take some time to think about how I want to deal with this. So after taking some time to think about it, I think, despite the fact that it is a bit chaotic, the game plan might end up needing to be a Lopunny deck with the cards that we've got in this set. Mainly because we don't really have much of another option here. I was thinking we could do something with Empoleon, maybe? We'd have to end up using some metal energies, but that's an interesting option because it gives us access to the Piplup line, including Piplup's Call for Support here, which is a pretty nice card. I think Prinplup isn't too bad. 70 to 1 of the bench Pokemon is decent, but I don't think we can get 3 energies on quickly. That's another thing that I need to keep in mind, is that I don't have energy acceleration either. Yeah, of all the decks that we're building, I think this one's probably going to be one of the rougher ones. If we had something with poison, I thought poison could be a strategy, but it doesn't seem like there's anything in here that gets benefits from poison. I don't think there are any trainer cards that take advantage of the poison. No, nothing really here. We have Switch. Now, the important thing to note is that technically the Switch that I have is the like fancy smancy one over here. And so if I want to add switches, I've got to use the double star spot, which honestly, that might end up having to be the way that we do this. So let's take a look here. What is Lopunny? I want to see what Lopunny is looking like. You are also, but you're Black Star, right? That's a difference there. Yeah, so you would go here, while I think the Full Art Switch would go here. So after further review, because I for the life of me never remember these, I believe, and I'm going off of Bulbapedia here, so I'm hoping this is correct. Because of how it's structured, all of them will fall here, which means I can only be limited on my switches and Lopunnies. But I don't know if that matters too much. So you're 2 Black Star, that's a double rare. That'll go in that final spot. And I believe the switch is here. It's specifically this one, which are 2 grayish stars. That's an ultra rare. That'll fall into that spot as well. Okay. Yeah, the double rare. Okay. So we could run... That might end up having to be the strategy. Also, we are wasting time here. All right, so let's do this, because I think that's probably the best that we can do. I'm going to have to craft it, which is a bit annoying, but for the sake of argument, actually, we don't have to craft it. For the sake of argument, we're going to add switches. I will be adding switches, the regular ones, because I don't want to, use my points on this. But for the sake of the chart, we're going to make them the fancy schmancy ones. So, as I walk over here, we have a full switch and a full switch. We'll go 3, because I'd like to have Mega Lopunny twice. We get 2 Mega Lopunnies here. I think that's good. So we'll go full art, and then we'll go over here, drop down, and we'll add 2 Lopunnies. Not ideal, but we'll make it work. We can add 2 Baniris. These are just regular common cards, so that's not an issue. So let's add that to the list here. Baniri, how do you spell Baniri? Golly. Baniri, there we go. Boom, 2 commons. We can add ourselves 2 Baniri. Rare candy doesn't help us too much, and frankly, Baniri by itself is not very helpful, so we'll go with that. I think getting Zigzagoon Linoon out there as well is probably ideal. Because we're kind of going all in on that strategy. So, you are a common, you are an uncommon, so we'll go over here, we'll say Linoon and Linoon. We've got Zigzagoon. I'm spelling that wrong, but you get that. It's Zigzagoon. There we go. You there, you there. What's your regular attack? It's 70 for slash. That's not terrible. Maybe get a third one just to make sure we get you out there. Sure, we'll add a third. I think that's solid. So Zigzagoon, we'll add 3 of you and 3 of you. How many Pokemon are we at? I didn't boost up the odds of the other guys either, so actually, I'm going to add a Flygon if I can. Can I? You are a rare. But I will just make you... I can just make you a reverse holo, I suppose, right? You come in reverse holo, I believe. Yeah, there we go. So we'll make one of the Flygons a reverse. Add you in, and now we're running a 4-2-4 lineup. I wonder if we just run... Do we add Vibrava in as well? Sure, we'll add a couple of... let's run the 4, even though I don't think it's necessary. Let's add Vibrava twice. Actually, technically speaking, I want to keep them in separate packs, so we'll go there. We'll add the 2 Vibrava. We are definitely overdoing it here, if I'm being honest. But we got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 basics. That feels pretty solid. And now trainers. Trainers. What trainers would I like to add here? Since I'm not going this is not a terrible stadium to add. We're not going to need Jumbo. That's not going to be helpful. We've already added our Switch. Grimsley doesn't help me. Fiber doesn't help me. Confused Pokemon don't recover from the special condition. I think Dawn obviously is the big one, right? So we'll add 2 Dawns in here. We'll go Dawn and Dawn. Add 2 of those. Boom, we're set there. Maybe... I think Battle Cage is a better stadium, all things considered. So we'll add 2 Battle Cages, I think, which are the diamonds. There we go, 2 Battle Cages there. So we'll add those 2, and then we'll add an extra energy, I guess. Why not? We'll add 1. Ignition energy doesn't make sense in this deck. Yeah, because no one's going to have a lot. All right, so here we are. Let's make this our Flygon build and battle. I think I've classified them as B and B, right? Flygon build and battle. Here we are. It's a deck. Is it good? I don't think so. I am going to actually give this a test run very quickly, and then we will come back and maybe make some adjustments. We have a little bit of time. Hopefully we get something. Okay, so I understand a strategy with this deck. And I have about 2 minutes to fix it. Here's the thing. Ironically enough, it doesn't really use Flygon, it definitely uses Mega Lopunny, and weirdly enough, in the plan that I have, it really uses Gliscor. Which you'll see how that works, hopefully in a matchup. For now, though, what I want to do is actually take a look here and make some adjustments. So I want to drop a Flygon line in particular. So let me drop Flygon, Vibrava, and a Trapinch. I want to drop all 3 of them, at least cut that by 1. Cut those, and I want to add, let's see, we can cut a Zigzagoon and Linoon as well. Let's cut a Zigzagoon Linoon. Let's do that over here. We'll cut 1 of each of these, and now I really want to add Gligar and Gliscor. So we'll add 2 Gligar commons. And we'll add Gliscor to our list here as well. And now we can add 2 of each of these. And we have space for one more thing. What's a thing that we could get here? Worst case scenario, we'll just add an energy. Honestly, the way that we've been playing it, energies are kind of needed. We had stadiums, that wasn't a big concern. I don't think any of these matter. We're out of dawn spots. Is there a Pokemon that we might want to add? I don't really think so. So yeah, I think with the time remaining, we have 10 seconds left on the clock or so. Add an energy, because I've been discarding a lot of them. And that's where we will end this. There we go. Time's on the clock. It's going to ring any second now. There we go. And that's going to do it. So, overall deck idea behind this. And I'll describe it now. Maybe it'll happen in the matches. Obviously, I haven't done any of them yet. But the idea behind this deck is really based off of starting off with Gliscor. If we can start with Gliscor, then we can start to build some sort of strategy around it. So, here is how the AI match, which obviously is not a very good indicator of things because the AI can be bad, but in the AI match, the way that it's set up was basically having eventually the way that I won the match was having Lopunny out there, you switch with Lanoon, which becomes active, attach an energy to Lanoon, retreat, bring back a Lopunny which has an energy on it, hit for 230. And just do that repeatedly. You can keep bringing Lanoon in. An easier way of locking them into a thing you want. Now, unfortunately, we don't have any boss's orders or anything like that in this deck. Disappointing. But what we do have is switch. 3 of these are going to be really helpful at making sure we get the situation we want. And the Lanoon strategy here, make sure that we can knock out somebody in front of us. 230 is decent damage. And especially if we can get Gliscor going. So that's 50 more damage. They're poisoned, so that's damage on their turn and our turn. So that, I think, technically turns into a 50, 60, 70 damage plus the 230 here. So that's like 300, if I did my math right, between the Gliscor Lopunny combination here. And ideally what happens is, this is how we started off effectively. So we have Gliscor in the front. If it's able to survive, it can poison the opponent. They can't retreat, so they're stuck there. Ideally, we get somebody that they don't want stuck there. And then if they're high pricers, that's plus as well. We go Lopunny and then just bounce back and forth between these two repeatedly until one of these two is knocked out. Probably the Lopunny first, at which point we go into the Gligar. Hopefully we have another Lanoon set in the background. And as time goes on, because in the AI match, granted, the AI, not very smart, it does tend to want to deck itself out, but we got into a situation where they ran out of cards, and that just helped out. The Flygon, I didn't really use this much, but it is nice. It is, in worst case scenario, it is a 2 fighting 130, and a discarding of 2. It's going to be bad if we play against a deck like Ceruledge, where it requires energies in the graveyard to really get going. That's not going to be ideal. But most decks don't want stuff in the discard pile, right? I don't know. This one, of the 3 decks we made so far, this one's easily the one that I feel the least confident in, but it's also the most unique strategy of the 3, I think, that we've built so far. So, I think without further ado, we can jump into it. As a reminder, we play 3 casual matchups, each worth 1 point, 2 competitive/ladder matchups worth 2 points, and create a grand total. My goal is to get a point. I don't know if that's going to be possible, but I don't know it yet. You don't know it yet, but you're about to, because here comes the matches. Thanks, past me. Welcome to the battles. Let's start off with casual battle number 1. Now, you'll notice throughout this entire battle that for some reason everything was very slow. Not exactly sure why that was the case. I'm assuming it's an internet connection thing, either on my end or their end, but actions take a while to happen here. We start off with our hand here. We've got Gligar to start off. That's a good start for our plan here. Looks like based on the sleeves, they're running a fire type deck, though frankly, the sleeves could mean anything. So, as you can see here, again, waiting for the opponent to set up takes some time. Eventually, though, they're able to get things set up, and we're playing against an interesting deck. I've never seen this in action, but this is Mega Audino
who's got a really interesting move set. The first move in particular, able to take energies, flipping a coin, then based on that, being able to move energies to Pokemon on the bench is really interesting. It is a 3 prize card if it gets knocked out, but it's pretty cool. I like the idea behind it. In this particular matchup, though, it's not great because it's weak to fighting. For our case, that's very good. We start off here. We got Gliscor immediately in the hand as well, so we can get that set up on the next turn. But for now, let's just start with a little bit of poisoning, is at least the philosophy that I've got here. But again, you see this sort of like weird delay thing. We're able to do sizable damage there. You know, the pros I found weren't particularly helpful. There weren't many instances where the extra 30 damage mattered in a way that it matters a lot more with Mega Lucario, for example. But, you know, sizable damage on Mega Pokemon, just trying to do some extra stuff here. As they bring in Scorbunny here to just do some damage. It seems like they've kind of bricked for the most part, right? Bringing Gligar, evolve into Gliscor. We've got Poisoned Ring now. This not only does the 50 damage, but it poisons as well and locks him in, meaning that next turn this Scorbunny is getting knocked out. The only way that it can recover is by evolving, which gets rid of special conditions. And as you can see, they fall into this sort of situation. They fuel up the Mega Audino in the back, and then they're kind of stuck. As a result of that, they Wild Kick here, get some extra damage on, but then Scorbunny's gone. And now we have not only a prize card, obviously, but we've got Mega Audino coming in, doing some sizable damage, and its attack, while good enough to knock out our folks here, doesn't do a lot. It requires the opponent, in this case me, to have a lot of energies in my hand, which, or not in the hand, sorry, on the Pokemon it's attacking. But since we only run 1 or 2 energies on our Pokemon, we're able to do sizable damage here. So, next card, I'm waiting to see, oh, are they going to put things on the bench? And they do. Here comes Oricorio EX, which makes me think, again, this is like a Charizard sort of deck, but despite this here, they don't attack. They instead try to fuel up the guy in the back. I find that interesting. So they attach a few to Mega Audino, they attach to the Oricorio. I found that odd as well because I was going to be able to knock them out this turn. And then Flygon to discard some cards there, get rid of that rare candy. We've dawned multiple times, which is very good. The hand kind of worked out for me and didn't work out for the opponent. And so as you can see here, we have pretty quickly put down Zigzagoon. I'm just kind of fueling up in case they get some comeback here, but Mega Audino gets knocked out. That's 3 prizes here, and our final attack that we need is right here in this Oricorio. Now, it's able to do enough to knock us out, but we're kind of in a situation where it seems like they're stuck. The Ignition Energy on Oricorio doesn't really do anything, right? And so they attack, knock out the Gliscor, take a prize, but I mean, we're able to come right back with another Gligar. And again, this sort of retreat lock situation here, which I found the longer I went through these battles was really impactful. Hilda for the energy and thinning the deck basically is the big role there. Attaching it to the Linoon, Gliscor attacks, does 50, poison, retreat locked, and now we have our win condition basically ready. As they bring out the Chi-Yu on the back end there, all we have to do is take the attack, we survive, and then just retreat into Flygon and take the knockout for the win. That's it. Match 1, we got it. Somehow this deck I didn't think was going to be good got the win. Let's see if match number 2 is any different here. We start off with our flipping of the coin here, so to speak. I was very surprised on that first match being able to get a win. Like I said at the start, the goal was to get a point, and we have gotten a point. Now the question is, can we get multiple points? Starting off with a mulligan, 2 mulligans here to be precise, which I found very interesting. I thought I put in enough basic Pokemon to be able to make things go well, but seems like that wasn't the case. Starting off with the Gligar, unfortunately no Gliscor in the hand, and this is the Charizard deck that I knew and feared. And oh boy, did they get things set up. Not only having a Charmander on the bench and in the active, basically meaning they are effectively a rare candy away from being able to get things going, but able to put another Charmander and Oricorio there as well. They, I think, made a mistake there and realized that they attached the TM evolution, but it's the first turn, so they can't attack. Which doesn't really matter too much because I'm in the opposite scenario. I'm kind of in the place my opponent was in the last game, where I've got nothing on the bench. They are one good attack away from being able to basically obliterate me. And so, here we are, they attach the energy, they attack. I need something this turn, otherwise we are stuck. I do not get it. Disappointment ensues. I'm using this also just to learn myself. The Charmeleon effect means that despite the damage there, it does not take the poison, it is not retreat locked. And so all they gotta do is, they do this just kind of for vibes, I'll let them have it. Discard, knockout, no bench. So we are 1-1 in 2 completely different ways. Let's see how match 3 goes. We jump into match number 3. We've had 2 completely different matches, one where the opponent kind of bricked and one where I bricked. So I'm hoping this one's going to be a little bit of an easier matchup. Good news, no mulligan. Better news, starting off with the Gliscor. And then I see this. I've never seen these Pokemon before in a matchup. I was curious what this was going to be. Turns out it's a really interesting deck. We'll talk about it as they start to pull things out. But I go first. Starting with the Fighting Gong here, and I'm thinking build up the bench. I do not want a repeat of what happened last time. We get the Trapinch down because Flygon on the bench is ideal, being able to discard cards and having that option there. They start off with the Mr. Garden as well, which is definitely nice, being able to draw cards based on how many they've got in the hand and how many Psychic Pokemon they've got on the field, which is a good way of setting things up. I don't like it. Now, I don't really run Stadiums in my deck. As you can tell, I have Battle Cage and other items like that, which is good for specific matchups, but mainly to get rid of opponent Stadiums. Starting off with the Dawn here on my turn, being able to find one of a basic Stage 1 or Stage 2 Pokemon. We can evolve the Gligar into Gliscor and set things up. One thing to note, some of the Psychic Pokemon have a resistance to fighting. While it's not a big deal for Smoochum, it is going to be a big deal for other Pokemon. Though, funnily enough, Marill is not one of those Pokemon. It's classified more as a Fairy type, meaning that it's weak to Metal or Steel type. They bring in the Baneri on the boss's orders, which is not surprising. They are fully aware of what this deck can do, or specifically what Mega Lopunny can do. And so, from here, they go for Hide, which I found very interesting. And this is an area where I think I might have made a mistake. So I evolved into Flygon. You see I'm able to discard the Mega Diancie, seeing the strategy there. But you can tell I'm debating here what I want to do. I don't have the ability to attach multiple energies, so I can't use the switch strategy to bring Lopunny back out. I think what I should have done is retreated into Flygon and not Gliscor. Flygon, once it's evolved, its main purpose then at that point is to get knocked out. And I know that Marill is going to likely evolve on the next turn. It has an Azumarill EX, which is the big card that this deck revolves around. As you can see, they'll eventually search it out and be able to get the evolution happening. And I think I should have just gone for that, because they wouldn't have used Boss or anything like that. I don't think they had the ability to do so on this turn. And so getting rid of Flygon on my end probably would have been ideal, because I would have discarded 2 cards on their next turn. That could have been 2 important cards, but more importantly, that would keep both Gliscor and Mega Lopunny alive, meaning that I could then use the switch strategy if I'm able to pull an energy, which I can. Flygon's just kind of dead weight at this point. Even despite the ability to attack next turn, I would have had Gliscor on the bench, which would have been better than having Flygon on the bench. Nevertheless, I am still able to get the knockout here, but I think that decision ends up leading to more complications down the line. Right now, though, we're in the lead, so far so good. They bring in Smoochum, which is able to throw energies on their bench, which is pretty nice. The Wondrous Patch, of course, big addition to Psychic decks because they're able to take discarded Psychic energies, throw them in. They're running Iono, which is interesting. This deck kind of doesn't care about the hand. Like, it uses all the good cards on the turn that you've got it, with rare exceptions of, like, Dawning and holding on to those type of cards. You can see they've got a different Azumarill in the back as well. That one has an ability where it uses significantly less energies to attack in certain conditions. Smoochum here, able to attack for sizable amounts. And then here comes another situation. What do I want to do here? Putting down the Gligar at first, and then thinking about what exactly the game plan is here. I can also Battle Cage to get rid of the Garden, which is definitely going to be helpful, because at this point they can draw up till having 5 cards in the hand, which is, pretty good. We go for Hilda, grabbing an energy, and then thinking about how I want to play this out. I don't really have a great option. Hilda, unfortunately, only searches evolution Pokemon, while Basic would have been nice for me. Putting the energy on Gligar to eventually get the Gliscor, and then keeping Lopunny in because its first attack is still able to knock out the Smoochum. So, we're at 2 prize cards left. We are 1 good Pokemon away from being able to get the win here. They are quite a ways away, but they can do some big damage with Pokemon like Diancie, for example, who comes out. Diancie, big impact on the Psychic side of things. Its ability means that it's always taking 30 less damage on attacks, and it has a pseudo Golden Go sort of effect, able to discard energies on it to do either 120 or 240 damage. which is pretty big. The customizability helps as well, and that's the thing that Golden Go really enjoy. So, as Lily's Determinations are reset, they go Secret Box as well, so they are able to find exactly what they're looking for. I, meanwhile, am looking at that deck. At this point, I'm seeing it's about 14 cards, meaning that the mill strategy that this deck kind of has but doesn't really have is slowly becoming more and more of a possibility. The Secret Box, while it does help them search for things, it does also decrease the deck size a little bit, which is very, very interesting. Now, at any point in time, they can Lily or Iono to kind of refresh their deck, so to speak, but it's a possibility there. They bounce my Stadium, bringing out the Garden as well, which is an interesting concept because that kind of helps me if it's able to draw them more cards, and they discard 2 energies to be able to do sizable damage to Mega Lopunny. Lily's Determination is nice. Gligar goes to Gliscor. We've got a lot of cards in the hand here, and again, another situation of how exactly do I want to deal with this. We Fighting Gong at first. I'm looking through, trying to figure out how I want to play this. Grab an energy off the Fighting Gong. I Dusk Ball, looking for a card. Unfortunately, I think I was looking for a basic and wasn't able to find it, so we attach here, retreat, go into Gliscor because I want to keep Lopunny alive. We switch to do sizable damage. Unfortunately, the resistance there is kind of a problem, which is why the Premium Pro wasn't used. Otherwise, I think I would have used that on the previous turn here. One good attack by Mega Diancie would knock us out, but the question is, how do they want to deal with it? They're able to move a lot of energies there. There's the Iono that actually refreshes their hand, so to speak, and the deck. Now it's at 6 cards at this point. 2-card hand for me. We do have Switch, which is nice if Lopunny survives. They retreat their Mega Diancie into Terapagos, which will be able to knock us out with their first attack there. And after attaching an energy, they attack, knocking a Mega Lopunny, able to take 3 prize cards off of that, and now we're in a situation here. We are there's a possibility, is basically it, but things have to play nicely. We start off by putting Baneri down, we attach an energy to Flygon. Flygon's going to actually do some damage at this rate, and we go for Poison Ring, which is super effective. We we retreat lock them, we're poisoning them, it does some damage, meaning that there's a possibility that Flygon can take the knockout for the win. Remember, that's all we need. All we need is for Terapagos to get knocked out. In order to do that, we are required, because they're going to knock out Gliscor, they can't really move anything around. The best case scenario, they boss something up, and after using Lilies, they definitely can. So best case scenario, we need a single energy or anything that can find an energy, a Lily's Determination, a Hilda, whatever it is. Something that we can do to attach to Flygon. If we do, we attack, we knock out, we win. That's all we need. And what does our draw get us? Vibrava. Unfortunately, not what we need, meaning we are stuck at this situation. You see that 260 damage would have done it. Unfortunately, all we can do is sit back and let them knock us out. That was the game. That was very close. That was a competitive matchup. They were able to get it done. At the end of the day, they also kind of flex, which, I'll let them. They deserve a win. It was a good match. But I'm wondering if those 2 discards that I could have done way back at the beginning of the game, if that would have mattered later on as we got to this. I suppose you could theoretically find out what those are, but unfortunately we get knocked out, and we are now 1-2. Now we get into the competitive matchups. So, this is going to make things a little bit more complicated. We found some niche or rogue strategies in the casual side of things and was able to get a win, a loss, and a competitive loss. Now we go into the real strategies here, which will make things very interesting. They start off with Badoo, which means this could be literally anything, and go for a Fighting Gong, grab an energy, attach it onto Gligar. We've got Gliscor in the hand, which is nice, 2 Trapinch on the bench, which is good as well, and the Premium Pro in case we need it. Here, however, I'm waiting to see what they have, and they start off with Ogerpon EX, which I find interesting, because I'm thinking at first, oh, this is probably some sort of like Ogerpon Area 0 type deck. An Ogerpon box, so to speak. They go for Badoo, which, by the way, because Gligar is weak to grass, means it's super effective and does 20 damage, and also means we lock out of our Premium Pro. Doesn't really matter too much at this particular turn, because we're able to evolve and knock them out, and here comes the Hoot Hoot. Lanoon in the hand, meaning that the switching strategy with Lopunny is possible if I'm able to get the right basic Pokemon. They, meanwhile, are ready to get things going, evolving into Noctowl, able to search because they've got the Terrestrialized Pokemon on the bench, and they grab Buddy Buddy and Rare Candy. Time to find out what the strategy is, and it is Dragapult. this deck does not like Dragapult. Although, frankly speaking, most decks don't like Dragapult. It's able to do a lot of damage, it's able to do bench damage as well, which means those stadiums that I've got are going to be impactful, but also this deck isn't very strong to begin with, so we got to see how we're going to make this work. Gligar, on the bench. Poison Ring here to attach. I keep saying attach. It's not attaching poison, it's attacking the poison. Which is interesting because we lock them in. However, they have the ability to do damage to my Pokemon on the bench. And of course, Dragapult's able to search deeper and deeper into the deck. So I've got two different strategies here. One, hopefully they deck themselves out with Dragapult, which is unlikely to happen. Or two, trying to pull guys in before it's too late. We rare candy into Flygon here, which is definitely helpful. We can discard hopefully some good cards. That's not great. I mean, Crispin's pretty good. A random Psychic Energy, though, doesn't really matter too much. And I'm waiting for the right moment to use the Power Pro. I didn't want to use it now. I don't think it's really necessary, especially considering they could just bring somebody in to attack and do some sizable damage. I don't know even now if that's the right decision or not. Especially considering they're able to get Dragapult moving, they're able to attack and attach. They've got Latios EX, which I found interesting. I'm not exactly sure why they've got Latios EX on the backfield, because they don't really run a lot of basic Pokemon. I guess Ogerpon is the main one, but I found that interesting. Not really sure, maybe it's an interesting twist on the strategy. I don't know too much about the Dragapult strategy beyond, of course, Dragapult being dominant and running it with Dusclops, or Dusknoir. They go for Iono here as their supporter, refreshing their hand, I think went down to 0 at one point, and also causing us to refresh our hand. Running a Lilies, or having a Lilies in the hand is going to be helpful in the next turn if we need it. But here, they blow up the Dusknoir to knock out the Gliscor, because they can recognize that's the big threat. While each of us are taking a card in the prize trade, having the Gliscor knocked out is kind of a problem here. Bringing in Gligar, because at the very least we can potentially do something to it. And they go for Buddy Buddy, being able to grab a Hoodoo, meaning that if they get a knockdown, they can search for even more item cards, or trainer cards in general, which will be very good for them. On our end, we're just filling up the bench here, put a Baneri down, put a Zigzagoon down. I'm trying to use all these cards before I go for Lily's Determination. And with this, because of how it's set up, I'm going to end up going for Gligar here. Put that down. Attach an energy to the Gligar on the field, because I'm hoping to draw into Gliscor. I unfortunately do not. And so I do have Switch in hand, meaning that the next turn I can try to find something for the Megalopunny. Instead, I just go for Poison Jab, which doesn't really do anything, but keeps the poison on, if that means anything. Next turn, the knocked out will get knocked out, but they are able to retreat if they can. And so I think that might be their game plan. They're trying to get one up on the prize trade here, and not getting their knocked out wouldn't do that. Evolving into knocked out on the bench means that they can search for 2 trainer cards. After taking a while to search through it, they find Area 0 and Buddy Buddy. Area 0 goes down, their bench is increased as well, and here comes a Dreepy, and now things are getting out of hand. You can't tell already. Things are certainly getting chaotic here. They go for Boss's Orders to switch out my Gligar into the Baneri, the biggest threat on the field, which makes sense, and switch themselves, which they now have the ability to do, in order to go into Dragapult. And now things are getting problematic, because Dragapult's one attack can already knock out Baneri, and one more energy means that it can start doing damage to the bench. Baneri gets knocked out, that's a prize card for them, and we're in a pickle because Dragapult has 320 HP, which is a lot. I evolve into Gliscor on the bench here, attaching energy to the Gligar, because at this point Gliscor is our main attacker, and Lily's Determination to refresh, hoping for something good. I don't get it. And in hindsight, I'm not sure if Lily's Determination was the best play there. I think I was hoping to draw into the good stuff. Instead, ended up with a hand here, which could be good on the next turn. Unfortunately, we're going to get some big knockouts here. After getting things set up on their end, they're obviously going to go for their big attack. And also getting another Dragapult on the bench, which is a problem, as you can probably tell. The Phantom Dive here not only knocks out Flygon, but is able to put 60 damage on somebody in the backfield. They put it on Gliscor. I use Sandy Flapping. I'm trying to deck them out at this point. They've got 14 cards, meaning that the strategy is potentially possible. Bringing in the Gliscor on the attack, putting Trapinch down. I'm trying to figure out a way of getting things going here. We're going to try to look for a strategy. What do I want to do? How do I want to do it? We've got the 2 Premium Pros, if that means anything. I go think about it. How do I want to play this? Going for Hilda here and searching for a Gliscor, which I will use to evolve the person on the bench. I can attach an energy to somebody. Who will I choose? I think in my head, I'm trying to see if I can set something up to maybe have Flygon do some damage. I go for both of these because they might refresh the hand and attack for as much as I can, poisoning them, retreat locking them. Honestly, I don't think they would have retreated anyway, but, you know, it's a plus. However, despite my intentions of having, oh, maybe they'll just knock out the one, it's not going to work. They're going to bring out the other Gliscor through the boss's orders, meaning that their Phantom Dive not only knocks out this Gliscor, but also the one on the bench and putting me in a real pickle here. Now, I am able to do sizable damage potentially with a Flygon, which I've got the Rare Candy and Dawn combination to get into it. I can attach another energy, but this match is kind of over already. At this point, I'm just trying to see if I can find anything just for vibes. Putting this down, but the main strategy, you know, Flygon, evolve, attack. I will not knock out, at which point a Phantom Dive knocks out the Flygon here, and we're pretty much done with that. So this competitive matchup did not go well. It's a clear distinguishing factor here between a good deck in Dragapult and a made-up deck in Flygon here. But there's one more match, one more competitive match. Let's see if we can make a little bit more noise in that matchup. Hopefully being able to get more competitive in that. And here we are in the final competitive matchup. We are 1-3, 1 win in a casual matchup with the opponent kind of bricked. So I am hoping basically for anything. As remember, we take whatever we can. And this is not a great start for me. Mulligan, not ideal. One thing to note though, they seem to be running a dark type deck, which is intriguing and means that we might actually have a shot here, especially if it's a dark type that is weak to fighting. We refresh, get a mulligan, and we've got a little bit better of a hand here, starting off with Gligar, putting Trapinch and Baneri on the bench. They get their mulligan card, and we see what we're running against. It is, survey says, drumroll here, something of the sort, Charmander. Interesting. Potentially interesting. Charizard, unfortunately, is not weak to fighting. Maybe we can get things going here. We've got the Hilda to be able to evolve next turn, so that's something. Attach the energy and go for it from there. They have the Charmander on the field, they've got a Charmander on the bench. They pull the Charizard up, meaning they are one rare candy away from making things chaotic. Attach an energy, and they will pass. So, we've got Flygon here. That's pretty good. We start off with the rare candy to evolve and discard the top 2 cards of the opponent's deck. They get rid of a Froakie and Artisan. Artisan is definitely good. Froakie, I'm interested how that would have worked. But through Hilda, grabbing an energy, evolve into Gliscor, attach an energy to Baneri in case we need that evolution, and then we go for the... Well, do we go for the Pro? We do, because I want to try to get the knockout here, get rid of that energy in particular, and take a prize card on top of it. Because at this point, I've kind of figured out what this deck is, and it is attempting to be a momentum-breaking type of deck. Getting Flygon to discard cards, trying to be able to lock them into situations. It's a very rude deck if I'm thinking about it. They attach an energy to their Charmander. They don't have anything on the bench, meaning we are one good situation away from being able to do sizable damage here. We attack. They have 1 turn left to put something on the bench, because if they don't, then they are in trouble. They attach energy. They attack, meaning that the poison knocks them out, and we win. Okay. Yeah, so, we somehow did it. This deck here, somehow was able to get it done. I'm not sure how, but yeah, so first things first, the Gliscor line was the big MVP of this. Flygon was playing support, which it kind of is to a certain extent. I mean, the 130 is nothing to scoff at for sure, but it is very much kind of playing like a disrupting sort of deck in the sense that you put it on the bench, you have it mess up your deck at first, and then you throw it out there kind of as, the way that this was constructed, kind of as like a sacrifice in a way, to discard the deck even more, which is interesting. The Gliscor line, I did not realize how impactful it is to force an opponent to have a Pokemon in the field that they don't want out there. Locking them in, having the poison, they can't retreat, is annoying. And I can tell that I know I didn't really face a lot of decks that could have taken massive advantage of this, and I don't think Gliscor is at least good enough to be able to go into any competitive decks, but man, is this interesting. I didn't get it to happen during my matches, but in my test match, actually, the Linoon low punny strategy worked pretty well. I was still able to get a couple low punny shots in, which is pretty nice. But overall, somehow, some ways, you can see on the screen right now, we got more points with this Flygon contraption than I did with Alakazam, which actually sees competitive play. Now, granted, obviously, there's a lot of constrictions with that, the build and battle format, and the fact that that was the first one, this is the third one, and all that, which makes me think I really messed up during that Alakazam one. Man, I am surprised by that. I know both of our wins were fluky, very fluky. But my argument is, hey, the other casual matchup, the third casual matchup, where I was that close to actually winning, all I had to do was draw an energy at the end. I made a misplay potentially early on. I think this deck is not terrible. And I accomplished the goal that I wanted, which was to get 1 point. And not only did I get 1 point, I got 3 somehow, which is wild. And so, shout out to Flygon, routinely disrespected by everybody. And by everybody, I mean mainly the higher-ups, because obviously there's a huge fan support for Flygon, but it doesn't get the Mega Evolution, doesn't get the fantastical thing. Take Garchomp, for example, which is probably going to get, I think at some point in the next couple of sets, they're probably going to start introducing, potentially? They've got to introduce, like, Mega Evolution Z's, right? So there'll be another Garchomp card, probably, that does a lot of things. So Flygon kind of just sits back and isn't used a lot. But man, was this better than I thought it would be. So that wraps this up here. Thank you, everyone, for listening, watching, and supporting in any way, shape, or form that you do. Join us next week for another Build and Battle Ultimate Challenge, or check out the other videos on the channel if you like competitive stuff or casual, like collecting stuff. This Friday's video is a very fun video for me. It's a very short video, but I am very happy about what I got, which you'll see, of course, on Friday. As I bump into my desk, that is a good sign that I should end this. Thank you, everyone, and until next time, take care.